Pinkies. Yes, how are you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're well and I hope you're having a great day. I hope you all had a fantastic Christmas and thanks for all the kind comments that got left on my videos over the festive period. I hope you got everything you wanted. If you got anything exciting for your Mini, drop it in the description below and let me know what you got. This year, actually, I didn't really get anything for the Mini. I got quite a significant present for my TVR Tamora. As you can imagine, over the years, I've collected so many bits for Minis over Christmas. It's an easy go-to when someone like me wants a Christmas present. So this year it was nice to have something a little bit different. Today, little job, we're back on the racing green, sorting out some snags. One of the things that doesn't work is the dash lights on the car. So we're going to have a look into that, trace a wiring loom, have a look at the wiring diagram and try and find out what the problem is. So first thing we're going to do, whenever you are fault diagnosing like this, you want to make sure that the fault is there and that it's repeatable, because you can chase yourself around going all over the place if you can't confirm the fault. So we'll go ignition on. We've obviously got our dash lights there, or our oil light and charging light, and I'll just show you that other lights work as well. So we've got indicator lights working as well. Now the instruments is pretty dark in here at the moment, should be backlit, so when we turn the side lights on we should get backlit instruments. As you can see from the outside, the headlights are on, but we've got no backlights on those instruments. So we've confirmed the fault is there, we've confirmed it's repeatable, and always just give a quick tap because you never quite know. So aside from the backlights on the instruments, all the other lights on the instrument pod are working. Now this instrument pod has been changed, if you remember. It was a 3-pod in a walnut dashboard, and I took it apart, and when you change over to a walnut dashboard, you have to cut the bits off the shrouds for the indicators. So I actually bought a second-hand dash pod and I transferred the instruments over, so it's all as it should be. As well as doing the instrument lights, the other thing I want to sort out today, I don't know whether you would have noticed in some previous videos, but there's a big gap above the instrument pod here. You can actually see the red is the red colour on the back of the dashboard card. It's all very dark in here because it's a black interior. But there should be a bit of foam material that goes above it. It's obviously been missing. So the great bit is, over the last few weeks, and especially over Christmas, I've been looking for some packaging with some black foam in it, and I did manage to find some. So we're going to fit and cut and fit that black foam. So the first place we're going to start, I've printed these extracts out. These are the Haynes manual, or the Book of Lies as most people like to call it. It's okay, the Haynes manual. Not everything is accurate in it. It's just like anything, over time things change, tolerances change. There's a lot of differences on Minis, and it's not always right in the Haynes manual, but it's I always find it's good enough. So what we've traced it to, so number 12 are our dash lights. So we refer back here, panel instrumentation lights. So number 12 are our dash lights. The first thing we can do is check the earth. So it shares an earth with 9 and 25 as well. So number 9 is the main beam warming light. Well, that was working, so that's definitely getting an earth. And 25 is the direction indicator warning lights on the dash. And as you've seen, they were working as well. So we can assume, pretty sure, our earths are okay. So that then just leaves us the live. So they have a common live. It's a red and green wire on the plug. That red and green wire traces back, right back to here, number 17, which is the fuse box. So in the fuse box, there is a fuse. The output's going to be a red wire and a red and green wire. The red wire goes off to number 5, which is the light switch. So all the lights work, so we know that's getting a live. It's this red and green wire here we're interested in, which looks like it comes off before the fuse. So we'll try and trace that in the fuse box and make sure that is actually connected. Right, so first things first, let's go to the fuse box under here. We don't need that light, it's a bit bright. So we've got reds coming in here, we've got red and greens going out here. So this is going to be the one for our dash lights. Oh, and the fuse is blown. Don't know how well you can see that. That fuse is blown, 15 amp. Can't be just as simple as that. I thought that done the side lights as well, but the side lights were working. Let me just double check. Oh. What's going on there then? That's on side lights and nothing is working. So I've got no side lights, so maybe it was just that blown fuse. Strange. Because they were working, so I've blown that fuse in between somewhere. Right, luckily I've got a 15 amp fuse, the right one. I've got a load of fuses actually, but not many mini ones. These are all the ones, but I haven't got many 15 amps. I'm shaking my head now trying to work out when that fuse blew, and I think I can remember now. So the radio's not connected yet. There are wires under there for the radio, and when I was playing around with that, one of them earthed out. So I'm assuming it would have been the one that powers the radio as well. So let's give it a try. Oh, yeah, it's as simple as that. There we go. So we've got side lights, we've got dash lights. Well, that's a bit of a boring video, isn't it? I thought that was going to be a complex bit of diagnosis, and it was just a fuse. I still need to get this foam bit here. Right then, I feel a bit of a numpty. If it was that simple, I wouldn't have even started making a video, but I guess it just goes to show it's always worthwhile having a good, logical diagnosis or diagnostics routine to get into. So confirming the fault is there, confirming it's repeatable, and then starting with the basics by just looking at the wiring diagram that pointed us towards the fuse box, and it was as simple as a blown fuse. I'm pretty sure I remember when that fuse blew now, so in the car you'd have probably seen, and I'd have spoken about it previously, I've got an original Philips radio. It doesn't work. I had a play round a little while ago trying to get that connected up, and I think the permanent live for that will come off that same fuse. So obviously when I was playing around with that, I've popped the fuse. Can't believe it was so simple, but like I say, it just does go to show having a good diagnostic process could save you a lot of time and hassle, because I was all ready to pull that dashpod out because I thought, well, it's a brand new wiring loom, you know, what can the problem be? And because I'd replaced or fiddled around with a dashpod, I just assumed it was a dashpod. So quick video this week. I need to sort out that black foam for the behind the instrument console now. So like I say, I need some black foam. I was actually thinking about it over Christmas, and as people were unwrapping their Christmas presents, I was looking for some black closed cell foam about the width of an instrument cluster. Now, that's my boy's birthday Christmas present, sorry. And inside, I noticed when he was unwrapping Christmas Day that, oh, I've ripped the box now. Well, that ain't going back, is it? I noticed inside, that's his old graphics card, but yeah, inside here, that's exactly what we want, some black foam material like that. So I'm going to chop that up and wedge it in the gap. Right, unfortunately, Charlie's graphics card come up a bit short. The foam in there wasn't quite long enough, but at least it did give me the inspiration, because in the loft, I have the Big Daddy. So this is from my computer. So if you're into computers and PCs and overclocking and that sort of thing, how about that for a size comparison? That's a GTX 4080. I think it was about 2,400 quid when I bought it. Probably a couple of grand now, 1,900 quid. GTX 4060, so it's sort of 2 levels below that, but look at the size difference of the boxes, and that's like 260 quid as well, so price difference massive as well. Lots more black foam in that. So we've done it, looks pretty good. Let's just have a look inside. It's always difficult to film this car because it is very dark inside, but no, it looks quite neat and tidy to me. To be honest, you don't even notice it when you're driving it because your head's sort of up here. but I do just notice that there's a gap there. So might need a bit of tweaking and refining, and it's not the original foam, but it will do the job. And just to add quickly for the geeks out there like me, you know, people ask me how I manage to keep up with the videos and do all the editing and that sort of thing on such a regular basis. Things like graphics cards help massively. So although the one I've got cost me, I think it was 2,400 quid when it was new, the time it saves is ridiculous. So if I was using this 4060 or something equivalent to that to upload a video like I'm doing at the moment, in 2K, you know, if there was some time lapse in it as well, that video on a card like that would probably take 45 minutes to render. The problem is you end up rendering it, you see something not right, so you render again, that's another 45 minutes. Then you decide to add a few bits, it's another 45 minutes. You can lose hours in rendering. That 4080 I've got will render a video like this in probably 5 minutes. So huge time saving there. As we've got a bit of a bits and bobs video actually, I will just mention, so the next bit I need to do on the Racing Green, it's going to Bingley Hall Mini Fair. It's never been polished. I've literally just always wiped it over with just some demon shine at the moment. The reason for that is, the reason I haven't put any proper polish on it is because I want to ceramic coat the car, and I mean proper ceramic coat. I mean you can get like, you can go into Halfords and, you know, they sell polish for a tenner, or you can buy ceramic polish for like 15 quid, but it's not the real thing. I'm no expert on detailing like that, but if ceramic coat polish is costing you 10 to 15 quid, it ain't the proper thing. From what I read and from what I've researched actually, ceramic coating should come in like a glass bottle. It's like a serum, has to be applied. You cannot, you can just put it on over anything, but really, I think the procedure is the car needs to be mocked and compounded first to remove everything and all contaminants that are on there previously. Luckily with this, it's fresh paintwork and I haven't put anything on, but it still picks up like industrial fallout in the garage. You still get metal filing, so that's probably going to have a full compound again to get it back to just fresh paint, and then I'm going to ceramic coat on top of that. So if anyone knows a really good ceramic coat, please let me know. Anyone wants to send some to me and I'll do the video on it, please, yeah, more than willing. I've done a bit of research on, is it G-Technique or G-Technic? Looks pretty good. The kits are about, I think they're about 70, 80 quid. But that's proper stuff, so I'm probably going to do it with that. But if anyone's got any other recommendations, please let me know. So I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Bit and bobby. It's probably one of those videos that I would have never have done normally if it was that simple, but I haven't got a video to get out this week, so I just wanted to come on and yeah, say thank you for everyone that left the Christmas messages. Really do appreciate it. Thanks for all the comments on the how much it costs to restore the Racing Green as well. Split opinion a little bit. For me, you know, it's all about, it's an investment. That money I've put into that car has not just gone away, gone forever. Yeah, I might have spent £16,000 on it on total, you know, £11,000 doing the restoration. But I've got a car that's worth that now and will only appreciate in value. Other hobbies you do, I used to be into flying private aircraft, and I actually owned a Cessna 152 for a while. In fact, no, it wasn't a 152, it was a Cessna 150, Golf Bravo, Papa Alpha X-Ray. I was in a syndicate, and it's fantastic, but the biggest waste of money ever flying, because you pay your landing fees, you pay your fuel, and all you have to show for it at the end of the day is some pictures, some memories, and once you've done that for a couple of 100 hours, it's really hard to justify just burning fuel, going up in the sky, going around in circles. Very enjoyable hobby though. If money was no object, I'd get back to flying, but I'm quite sensible with money. So like I say, thanks everyone for tuning in. New Year's coming up, so I hope you all have a great new year. And yeah, like I say, I really do appreciate the comments. It really does help motivate me. I've really struggled with motivation over the last few weeks. Obviously the Racing Green has come to an end. It's not the weather to be playing about and out enjoying the Tamora. So it's very difficult to come out in the garage to do things, but it does help. It helps with your mental health. Even if you just come out here and just do one job always turns into 3, 4 or 5 jobs. And once you can get off your bum and get in the garage, once that little bit of motivation you need to get out and go and do something, you'll get stuck into it and you'll do some more. So my advice, if you're struggling with motivation, just pick one thing that you're going to go out and do, make one thing better, and trust me, you'll have the motivation to carry on and do a few more bits then, and then a few bits here and there turn into big bits like restoring a whole car. So yeah, thanks everyone for tuning back in. I'll catch you again on the next one. Cheers.